What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of 5 Questions. And I am joined, of course, by my guest co-host from the episode. This is Sturd Oween. It is Sir Sturdy himself from the Horror with Sir Sturdy podcast. Welcome, Sturdy. Thank you for coming on.
Of course, man. Of course. I love being on this show.
Dude, I love being on yours. You have a great horror podcast, and we talked about it a lot on the show. Guys, go check out that episode so you can learn more about Sturdy and his show and what he's got going on. But I got 5 questions for you. You ready for them?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right.
I'm ready.
Let's do number 1. Do you remember your first movie theater experience? What was the movie and what was it like?
Honestly, one that comes to mind, The Lion King. That's my favorite Disney movie. That's my favorite Disney movie, or my favorite animated Disney movie. Let me be correct. My favorite live action, White Fang. Love that movie.
You're into the animals. You like the animal movies, huh?
Yeah. Well, I'm just wolves. That movie made me like growing up wanting a wolf, but I know then it was like, okay, a husky, but then I see how crazy those dogs are, so I had to settle for a mixed breed. But no, The Lion King, it went there for, I forgot what we went. My mother took a bunch of us to. I don't know if it was a birthday party or what. And funny thing about The Lion King, right? My brother didn't tell me this. Shout out to you, Henry, out in Colorado. Until about maybe we were in our 20s. He was like, remember when we were watching The Lion King in the theaters? I was like, yeah. Because remember when I moved away from you? Like away from everybody? He's like, yeah. So when Mufasa died, he started crying and moved down.
Oh my God.
I mean, of course you're going to laugh at that because it's your guy friends, but it is a sad, powerful freaking part in the movie.
Oh, yeah. And it adds gravitas that it's James Earl Jones doing it. Such a powerful voice.
Yes. Oh. It actually hits, like I'll get a little, not like crying, but you get that like that feeling in your throat, that little tickle. Like it hits me now as an adult, but as a kid, I mean, it was sad. I didn't laugh at it. It wasn't, but I just didn't.
I think we respond to it in different ways as we get older too. Because I remember as a kid thinking about it from the perspective, his father just died in front of him, and he thinks he did it. Oh my God, this is crazy.
Yeah,
and like it's emotional and hurts. To as an adult and having kids, I'm like, oh my God, like. What would my kid go through if that happened to him? Like, and it's me. Like, yeah. I mean, it's just a weird, like, visceral response you're immediately gonna get, like, where you're just like, it hurts you right off the bat.
Yeah, I think it's that, and then it's like for me, yes, thank God, knock on wood, my dad's still alive. He's gonna be 80 this year, so it's like losing that. What Mufasa was the symbol, not just a father, but a protector, a lead, like all those things that you are for your child, you know what I mean? And it's like losing all that is scary as shit.
Yeah, that's legit, man. And actually brings us into our next question. What is a movie that reminds you of your childhood?
You know what? I'm not even gonna stick with Lion King on that one because that's too easy. But Friday the 13th, and it's just a movie that growing up, I've watched it. I can't tell you how many freaking times, man. The whole franchise for the most. I mean, I'll say 1 through 8. For the most part, as far as are the ones I've seen the most. And it's just like, it's comforting for me when I watch those movies. It's so comforting. It's so relaxing. As crazy as that may sound for people that may not be horror fans. But I mean, if you've been watching something since you were 5 years old and you're watching it with your older brother, your older cousin, so you know your little kid you look up to, I get to hang out with the cool crowd, the older crowd. And from that, it passed on from me as far as like watching those same movies with my younger brother, watching those same movies with my younger cousins, and other friends, of course. But it's like it's just one of those movies. I can pop that movie in and never be bored of it. Never freaking be bored of it. And it again, I just think back to boom, pop that movie in. I remember watching this as a kid, and then it's like I remember watching this as a teenager. I remember watching this in my adulthood with this person. I remember watching this movie with my wife, and like I've told you before how we went to the Blair Sound in Jersey, and got to actually go to the actual site. So it's just like I can only imagine how excited I would have been going there as a kid. I would have went crazy, just cheese and all this. Oh my gosh,
I love that.
Oh my, so yeah, it's Friday the 13th. Is that?
I love that it's a horror movie. It fits within your realm of what you love doing. So that's very cool. Who is a character in a movie that you really looked up to at some point in your life?
Ooh. I might have to go back to Lion King for this one. Maybe Mufasa. It's Mufasa. It's Mufasa. And again, it's just so many, like watching it as a grown man, you're seeing so many gems that he's giving to his child and important gems. Like the elephant graveyard thing in real life, it can be anything that's just like, don't hang out with this kind of person. Don't hang out with these crowd of people. Don't be doing this. Don't be doing that because you can get yourself hurt, whatever the case may be. So it's kind of the elephant graveyard is just the elephant graveyard, I look at it as it's temptation. It's temptation. It's like for that, go hang out in the elephant graveyard for lions for this movie portray. It's cool. It's dangerous. It's cool. It's fun. Whatever. And for us, it could be anything. It could be anything. So I'm like, yeah, this just ties into it. And watching it as an adult, you pull from it and you understand it so much more. You're like, oh my goodness. You're like, wow, this is what my parents are telling me all these years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I'm learning it from a cartoon movie. Now as an adult, this is what they meant by this, and that makes sense. It makes sense. But it's just one of those things to where like you see this, and then where when Mufasa comes out at night, you see his face in the sky. I feel like with that moment, it could be one of those things where you lose, even if a loved one's still alive. Actually, I'll give you a great example. I was driving to work one day in my wife's old Chevy Blazer, and the gas pedal got stuck, and I could not stop the truck. Thank God. Listen to this, right? So driving to work, gas pedal gets stuck, and I end up at a point to where I either there's a stop sign. Of course, I couldn't stop. I had to go either left or right, which my job was on the left, going towards the left. No cars were coming from either direction. No cops. So I make that turn, and just like I didn't see his face per se, but I just kind of felt like I heard my father's voice, just like, take a deep breath. You can handle this. And I swear to you, man, not even 2 seconds after that, feathered the gas some more. Then it finally popped back up, drove to work, parked it. Right after work, I think I might even call him before I got in there, but right after work, went to his house. We went through the whole truck and never did it again. Glad it happened to me instead of the wife. But again, just like that moment of where you really need that one person one way or another, and somehow they're just there. So
yeah, and I think it just sticks with you a lot of times.
Yeah.
And I like that you correlated that with the Lion King, because that is such a big theme of it, for even him to come back later. And it, I mean, he's not talking to his father. In reality, he's not talking to his father. He's talking to himself, but he hears his father's voice because
Exactly.
that's what he learned, and that's what he needs. That's in his subconscious, what he ultimately needs. And it was such a beautiful moment. So I'm glad. Thank you for sharing that story, because that really was a beautiful comparison.
Oh yeah.
Question number 4. Can you share a time or a memory when a movie made you feel a really strong emotional reaction?
Black Panther. Just because you don't like growing up, I've never seen that. I've never seen, as far as like the superhero movies, to where you're seeing someone that looks like me, not only one person, but a whole movie that looks like me, and they have these awesome powers, this awesome intelligence, and this, because we're usually, I won't say always, but it's like you're like the side character, you're the jokey guy, you're the funny guy. In horror movies, you're killed first. But it's like this was such a powerful movie, and not just for people that look like me, but even young white kids. Like I thought, you know how awesome it is for me to see that, like seeing little white kids dressing up as Black Panther because that's their favorite superhero.
Yep, I love
And
that. My son,
so dope.
that year, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take that away from you. And I appreciate you sharing that, but it just makes me feel so good to hear that, because my sons both have gone as Black Panther, but the year that it came out, my oldest went, and he still like has a Black Panther blanket, has a Black Panther pillow. That's his favorite, because it's a great look. First of all, it's the best, one of the best looks.
It is.
And that movie, Chadwick Boseman just blew anything out of the water he was in. I really appreciate you sharing that with me. And if you don't mind, if I added one question and asked you for the Black perspective in this question.
Yeah, of course.
Because it feels like for so long there has been a separation between Black films and what are considered mainstream, but really it's white films.
Yeah.
If you think about that. And I'm talking about it, I feel like it's mixed really well as of late, but like for years it felt like that's kind of how it was. Seeing this, where it's such a mainstream character and such a bigger than life character on a huge platform like this, is there any other characters from maybe what was considered Black films that kind of had that feeling as a kid that gave you that same feeling? And and the reason I ask that is to compare seeing it in the mainstream versus as a child where there was more separation.
See, that's a good question. That's tough.
Oh, thank you.
That's tough.
And if you don't have an answer,
I'm gonna jump to horror again. Friday the 13th Part 5. A brother survived, and I'm using that because that movie right there. It's either I won't say it's the Halloween 3 effect, but it's kind of similar in the sense that for this one, the original Jason's not in it, as far as, if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. But Reggie the Reckless surviving, just because I'm like, okay, you get to see that. So anytime I see those horror movies where someone Black survives, I love it. I don't get mad when they die either. Don't get me wrong, people, but it's just like, we shouldn't be dying every single damn movie. We should not be dying every single damn movie. So it was cool. It was cool to see that. And then as a kid seeing that movie, it was cool to see a kid survive. Which I know Jason doesn't really kill kids, but just still, just in that moment and all that, that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool.
And I would love to talk to you more about this on your show, but if you think about it for the future, to really analyze Jason, why he never actually goes after kids, whereas we've seen it with Michael, we've seen it with Freddie, we've seen it others, but I wonder if there could be something written where maybe Jason doesn't go after kids because he was a kid when he was a kid. And he looks at it as like, I'm not going to go after them. They were just like me. I'm going to go after the counselors who aren't paying attention.
True, but the kids did bully him.
All right, true. Well, then Jason, you're dropping the ball. Listen. Before we get to our last question, I just want to say thank you. Your answers have been amazing. I really appreciate the conversation through them. But if you're ready, I'll give you the last one.
Oh, before that though, I had another thing with the Black Panther thing.
Oh yeah, please.
With the whole, like when Chadwick Boseman passed, that sucked. That sucked because it was just like. But the beautiful thing about it again was just seeing how many people love that man, like how many fans love that man, how many kids love that man, like seeing the kids like sad, crying, like doing the where they had their toys lined up, with like the Black Panther toy laying down, all the toys lined up, and I was like, that's such a dope, beautiful thing right there. Yeah. That's such a dope, beautiful thing. And you could tell it wasn't one of those things where parents forced them to do it.
No.
You could tell where it's, you know what I mean? Because these kids, you could see the sadness, you could see the pain in their face. Yeah. And I'm not saying that it's cool to see that, but it's cool that you're seeing that emotion as far as they were really a fan of the Black Panther. This is their Black Panther. And that is so dope. And again, kids of all races, I love that. But it's just cool to see. It's, you know what it is too. One more thing about that is it's cool to see that. I'd love to see more of it because I think it would help maybe with the younger generation. Maybe it would help with like not being afraid of someone that doesn't look like you. Like, oh, that's a superhero.
Yeah, that's a great point. I love hearing that too. And I know just from my perspective, they didn't line up the toys, but my one son, he's lost to a lot of Chadwick Boseman because I loved him as an actor, and he made a lot of history roles. He was Hank Aaron. He was Jackie Robinson. Yes. He was Thurgood Marshall. He was James Brown. He played so many wonderful roles of prestigious Black men throughout history.
Yes.
And but also just really good movies.
Yeah.
They're all really good movies. So it's like when you watch them, it's good to show my kids that just as history figures and say that's Black Panther playing those roles. He was a star, man. He was a great actor and a star.
And it was just like that. That was a tough loss. Yeah, rest in peace to Chadwick Boseman, by the way.
Yes,
Black
absolutely.
Panther. And thank you.
I love that. All right, final question. You ready? What is something about you'd like the audience to know?
I'm not just a horror fan, guys. I really do love other stuff besides horror. Like you heard me mention the Lion King. I love Disney. I really do love Disney, football, drag race and all that fun stuff. But horror is important to me because it's been in my life. I'm 37 years old now. It's been in my life for about 32 of those years. So it's like your best friend almost. You know what I mean? It's like your best friend. Like you're not going to get rid of your best friend. You're not going to get rid of people that you grew up with. I mean, but you know what I mean with that.
Oh yeah.
And it's just something that, like, for example, like I said, I told you guys how I grew up with it with my cousins and brothers and friends and all that stuff. My wife is into it. So it's always been prominent in my life. And then with people surrounding me that I actually care, that I love and care about. So that's why horror is so important to me. Not just the fact that I love watching those movies and stuff, but it's like, I've always had people to watch them with that enjoy it. Maybe not as much for some, but they enjoy it. They love it. They watch it. And again, my wife, like we go to the movies every time there's a new horror movie coming out. For the most part, this year we've been going. I think we're like 18 or 19 strong this year, and we're going to continue to do that because it's just something we love to do and really passionate about. Good or bad, as far as the movie goes, I'm still going to go. I mean, you guys know how I feel about Nicolas Cage. I went and seen that nonsense. I didn't
factor around.
But yeah, horror is super important to me. It's just part of my life. It's a big part of my life, and it's always going to be that.
I love it. Those are fantastic answers, man. I want to say thank you for coming on and doing this. Thank you for coming on and being my guest co-host on the show. And just coming on and just being an awesome, great guy. And please go watch our show. The links are down in the bottom where we work together, but go and check out Sturdy Stuff. His links are down there below. He's fantastic. So thank you again. You are awesome, man. I'm happy to be friends with you and be able to do this stuff. But until next time. Me too, man.
I love it.
But until next time, I'm Mick Manhattan. That's Sir Sturdy, and we'll talk to you soon.
Peace.